Hey everybody, how's it going? This is Matt from Crypto Coffee, and I'm here today to make a video about my genuine, honest opinion of the HEX token that exists on the Ethereum smart contract. And there's been a lot of controversy about this HEX token, especially lately because it just launched about 20 days ago to the public, meaning you can now go you can now go transform your Ethereum into HEX token on go.hex.win. You could also free claim your Bitcoin if you're a Bitcoin holder, and you can go over to the website and claim your free HEX. But why would you do any of that stuff? And what's so great about HEX? What is it in the first place? I'm just going to try to cover as much as I can about what HEX is, just purely honestly, and what's been going on if you're confused about all of this FUD or this controversy, because it really is a crazy kind of situation, and I've never really seen anything like it. And it's quite frankly, it's really entertaining, but it's also sucking up a lot of my mental attention really these days. And like it's definitely the most exciting thing to me in crypto right now, given that Bitcoin is a little bit boring and I'm kind of tired of shitcoins, like I'm sure everybody else is. And that's probably kind of why it's so controversial as well. I mean, we had 2017, right? And we had the rise and fall of altcoins. A lot of people got wrecked and a lot of people lost a lot of money. So that's one of the factors that I think is driving a lot of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt around the HEX token. Anything that seems too good to be true, well, a lot of people fell for that shit in 2017, and they are just kind of tired of seeing another token, so to speak. And that's a very valid concern. I mean, I was kind of tired of it too. I held a lot of bags down 80, 90%. Well, not quite till 90. I admitted I was wrong at probably around a 70 or 80% loss for a lot of these things, but still lost more money than I've ever made in my life from working, which is kind of fucked up if you think about it. We could take all the money I've made in my few years of working in the quote-unquote real world, and we could take my paper gains in 2017 and we could subtract 70% or whatever from those. And it's funny that I like to tell the story that I've actually lost more money than I've ever genuinely made on paper. And I'm okay with that. I've come to terms with that. I didn't really have too hard of a time with that, actually, because there's always more important stuff to be focusing on. It's not all about money. But I'm just trying to say that if you're like me, you're definitely probably tired and definitely should be skeptical about a new token that is, I don't want to say claiming such high potential gains, because Richard Hart is not supposed to be making any claims, but that's what we're all here for, right? And so HEX is the first high interest blockchain certificate of deposit. It's free for Bitcoin holders, so if you have Bitcoin, you can go ahead and claim it for free. One thing I want to clear up about that is that you're not giving your private keys away, okay? That would just be so obviously wrong and stupid that if you hear anybody saying that, oh, you need to give away your Bitcoin private keys, that's not true at all. There's something called signing a digital signature, which you can do with a lot of Bitcoin wallets, and it basically just proves that you had Bitcoin on a certain date, the date of the snapshot, which was December 1st, I think. And so that's how you claim your free HEX. You sign a digital signature with a wallet software. You never give your private keys to anybody. If anyone's telling you to, that's just so wrong. It pains me to see that people actually think that you have to give your private keys away in order to get this, okay? And it also says it's designed to increase in value faster than anything else in history. And this claim right here is another thing a lot of people seem to have a hard time with. I guess I'll just do full disclosure right now. I own HEX and I like it. And there's a lot of things I don't like about it, which I'll also get into, but there's a lot of things I like too. And I just want to be totally transparent about what I like, what I don't like, and what is just straight up bullshit out there that I'm seeing. So point one about the Bitcoin claiming, you're not giving away your private keys when you're claiming. You are actually just signing a signature that's proving that you owned Bitcoin at a certain date. It's not that hard to understand, guys. You're not giving anything away here. It's actually a free token. No matter how much value you might think it has. You might think it's worthless, but it's still a free token. Now the next line says it's designed to increase faster in value than anything else in history. Now this definitely sounds scammy, I get that. And Richard Hart is not stupid either. He put this on the website on purpose, right? It's designed to increase faster in value than anything in history, which if you look at the reality of how Bitcoin increased, from $1 to $7,000, that's the most highest appreciating asset class in history right there. Among other things, like take ETH for example, went from 15 cents to $1,400 or something. And a lot of cryptocurrencies have increased faster than any other asset class in history. So if they're increasing faster than any other asset class in history, this is already a crazy fucking game that we're playing, guys. Like, it's a crazy, weird, red pill kind of world where we're buying these ones and zeros that are catching into kind of a meme-like culture and spreading throughout the internet, and people are getting rich. People are also losing a lot of money. So this claim that it's designed to increase in value faster than anything in history, it's not that outrageous. All he's trying to say is that it's designed to increase faster than any other cryptocurrency, which cryptocurrencies are already a thing that's appreciated higher than anything else in history, or faster than anything else in history. So if you can believe that Bitcoin rose faster than anything else in history, any other asset class, which it did, and you already believe that, then it really isn't that hard to make the association that HEX is designed to do the same thing. Now the reason that I think the hard thing that people have a hard time understanding is the language and verbiage that Richard Hart has to use when talking about this token. So basically, in order to not be a security by US law, a token has to pass what's called the Howey test, right? And let's just change up the scenery. This is Richard, talking about his token at one of the conferences, but he has to be very careful with the way that he talks about his own token. He can't make you any promises, because if he made you a promise, that would break the Howey test and it would be easily classified as a security. So that's why he's not telling you where the money goes and who owns the private keys to the ETH contract that is in the adoption amplifier and any of that stuff. He can't tell you because he wants to evade the law, basically, the US securities law. And I don't have a moral problem with that at all. I think that this is blockchain, right? This is what everybody wanted. I mean, this is your free, borderless, permissionless internet, right? This is what happens when things are permissionless. People can do and make whatever the heck they want, and you can't do anything about it. So if you don't like that, just ignore it. And if you really don't like this project, I don't even know why you're watching this video. If you don't like it, don't let it occupy any more time, and don't let it bother you, because every minute that you let this token bother you is just a waste of your life. I mean, you could be off doing something else productive, right? So the reason that Richard will not admit or tell you where the ETH goes, and the reason that he has to say it's designed to increase in value rather than guarantee you that it will go up in value, is because he's being honest and there are no guarantees. He says quite often that this could go to zero, and he also wants to avoid securities law, because I think the primary reason for that is because if a lot of exchanges can't list a token, or have a lot harder time listing a token if it is officially deemed a security. They have to go through a lot more regulation, right? But guys, this is crypto, okay? Everyone's talking about, everyone here is kind of like a libertarian, or a lot of you people believe in, less government. and all this stuff. But then somebody goes and creates a smart contract on the Ethereum blockchain that is literally only designed to increase in price. There's no other use case other than that. And people are all mad. Like, you're just using the Ethereum blockchain for what it for one of its many purposes. So he just built a smart contract. The smart contract exists. You can go look it up online. You see all the code if you know how to read code, which I'm sure a lot of you don't. And you can see it's all right there. It's been audited by 3 different companies, but it's really just mind-boggling to me that people are are so much in favor of less government, less regulation. We got to beat the banks. We got to avoid the corrupt financial system. And then this thing comes out and they yell scam, scam, scam. What do you guys want? Do you guys want free, permissionless blockchain, or do you want highly regulated financial environments? It's like, guys, if you're smart, if you think you're too smart for this and you don't want anything to do with it, just stay away. And I'm going to say something right now. So I'm not here to just defend Richard this whole time, right? This whole video is going to be my honest opinion, meaning I've got some problems with HEX just as much as I have, good things to say. So I'm not just going to sit here and defend Richard the whole time. These are my genuine thoughts, right? But I just think people got to get over this finger pointing and name calling bullshit, because you're just wasting your time. I mean, Richard said this himself, but if you go and you make a video calling HEX a scam, all you're doing is you're introducing thousands more people potentially to the concept of HEX that they might not have even known about in the first place. So are you really doing the world a service? It's like trolls, if you want a troll to go away, the last thing you do is you give him attention, right? So if you're not a believer in HEX, don't say shit about it. And that's the most powerful thing you can do, is not giving it attention. Because the more attention you give it, whether or not you're on the side of HEX or not, you're just allowing it to gain more mind share and gain more real estate in people's minds. Which, that's just what you're doing. So let's just go down the list here on the website, right? And we'll go pick apart a lot of these statements. Here's one of the things that I actually do have somewhat of an issue with. So we've got HEX as the first high-interest blockchain CD, right? And I know what Richard is going for. He wants to infiltrate a market on the blockchain that hasn't been done yet and replace an existing market, right? So the goal is to take something that people already understand, which is certificate of deposits or time-locked deposits in the real world. He wants to recreate them on the blockchain, as part of the whole DeFi push that Ethereum is now going for. Well, the issue here is that using the word CD, it might result in more legal trouble than it's worth in its marketing value. What I mean is, blockchain CD is great because it allows people to easily understand or more easily identify something, right? So a CD is a concept that people already have in their mind. Kind of like how an asset is a concept a lot of people already have in their mind. And for example, a commodity, that's something that people already know what it is in their mind. It's like gold, silver, grain, pork. But then some people want to call Bitcoin a commodity. Is it really a commodity? No, Bitcoin is not technically a commodity by some people, depending on your definition, because you can't physically touch Bitcoin. There is no physical Bitcoin in the world. It's just digits, it's ones and zeros. But the term commodity helps people get their head around it, right? I heard a funny Ivan on Tech video today that it's kind of like when people first discovered the platypus, right? It's got the tail of a beaver, the bill of a duck, the body of an otter. The platypus doesn't make any fucking sense. And, people want to classify it by saying, oh, it's an amphibian, it's a mammal, it's a reptile, but they can't really classify it because once in a while, some new shit comes out that is paradigm breaking, and we have to create new mental models for how to handle this information. So Richard's trying blockchain CD so that you can anchor yourself to the idea of a certificate of deposit, and so that you have something to reference when you think of, because it does behave similar to a CD, but that's not really technically what it is, right? And going back to my point, I think that using the word blockchain CD and calling it a financial product might actually piss off some kind of regulator somewhere a little bit more than it's worth for that anchoring effect in people's minds, right? So how HEX works is that you basically just obtain HEX, you stake it for a period of time, and then you get interest back when your stake expires. Technically what's happening here is immediately when you stake it, the coins are burned, and then at the end of the lockup period, you get new coins back, but you get more new coins than you initially burned, right? So if I deposit 100 coins, I burn them, they're gone, and I wait till the end of my stake. Let's say my stake was 1 year, then 1 year later, this is all hypothetical, I would hypothetically get maybe 150 coins back, right? And that would be my interest. So it behaves like a CD, but you're not getting paid in US dollars, you're getting paid in HEX, and so you basically just have to have the belief that HEX will be worth something a lot more in the future, and that's what makes this appealing to people. You know, they're locking up their money for the hope of future mad gains, right? Again, designed to go up higher, faster, and retain its value. So that's what it's designed for, and it's got all these game theory incentives, meaning, you know, things like a referral program, things like you get more coins if you get in earlier, things like you get more interest if you stake bigger and longer stakes, similar to the real world in CDs. And that's what it's designed to do, but again, he's not promising anything here. I just think that the term blockchain CD will potentially raise red flags of a lot of people, especially the typical traditional finance types. I think it might be better to advertise this as something else, maybe like interest-bearing digital asset, a new term, so that people can't just lump it into a bucket. You know, I think that actually might end up getting him in trouble. And that's kind of what I think is the biggest risk to this project right now, is you can potentially, Richard might potentially get in trouble legally for some of this stuff. Even though he's technically not breaking any laws, he might be pissing some people off that would have some kind of incentive to sue him or go after him, or alert the authorities, right? And that hasn't happened yet, and I don't think it will happen, because he's not really ripping people off. People are making their own conscious decision to invest in this project, right? So it hasn't happened yet, but I do worry that it could happen if, let's say, some asshole is, you know, dumps like 100 Ethereum into the adoption amplifier and then gets pissed off when he can't immediately flip it 2 weeks later. Now, I think that'd be a hard case to make for just some random individual, but what I even more so worry about is Richard's behavior and controversial kind of name calling and the back and forth that he has with some prominent individuals. Now, I don't think a lot of these individuals are as prominent as they appear to be. They're just dudes with YouTube channels that really don't have the time of day to file lawsuits and get the law involved. But I do worry, like, you know, I see Richard saying pretty mean stuff to basically anybody that calls this project a scam. And I think if he were to handle those situations with a little more grace and just not be as, you know, not raise as much negative attention on himself, he might do himself a favor. So, Richard, if you're watching, I think you're awesome. I actually hope to interview you one day. That's, you know, you made this channel because I made this channel because of this token, right? So it was inspiring to me, but please, I would love if you were to calm down and not piss so many people off, because, well, he does make very good arguments, towards these people that make a lot of sense. He's just not it's not the most charismatic thing sometimes to call people names and be super rude to certain people, even if they deserve it. You know what I mean? So when you're the leader of something, I think you have to have a little more responsibility in terms of what you say and how you act, especially face to face or on a live stream or on social media. But hey, Richard apparently doesn't care. And who knows, maybe he is smart enough to, maybe he's doing this intentionally, right? Maybe he's creating controversy intentionally. I mean, if there's one thing I know, it's like controversy is very good for attention, right? Especially in today's day and age with all this fake news bullshit. People are drawn to things that are controversial because everybody wants to have their opinion. So maybe Richard really is kind of playing the evil genius here, but doing this for the greater good of HEX. I just don't think I think he's making a lot of enemies right now, and I worry that one of these enemies will come back to bite him a little bit later on, and he might get in some legal trouble. Because right now, the fact of the matter is that HEX token doesn't technically break any laws, technically, right? But with a little bit of language twisting, and a little bit of linguistic effort, I think that people could potentially create a new law, a new case law that would actually make an example out of HEX. And I don't want HEX to be the example token. I want them to go after some other token that's less good, that maybe harms people more. I'd rather the regulators go after straight up Ponzi schemes that are offering crazy high promises and not giving you anything in return. Because there's a lot of those out there. Like there's a lot of high yield investment programs and just bullshit gambling websites that will just straight up take your money and not even say sorry about it. So my hope is that this gets enough attention to be big, but that it doesn't get too much attention in the realm of the wrong people, if that makes sense. So that is one of my biggest concerns right now. I really don't know if it's anything to be concerned about. I know that generally all attention is good. Like I said earlier, if you're promoting, even if you're calling out this project as a scam, technically you're still promoting the project, whether you think so or not. Some portion of people will switch over to what you call the dark side, and they will, just by virtue of knowing that this token exists, people are more likely, if the percentage was 0 beforehand, now the percentage is something, that they will get involved in HEX. So all attention is good intention. All attention is good attention until you piss off the wrong people and people decide to make an example out of you. So really hoping that doesn't happen, and I will make sure to, alert, or I'll stay on top of this thing and try to alert you guys if I do see things going that way. But right now, I want to assume that the regulators have too much other shit to deal with. There's not enough of them, and there's way too many scams out there for them to worry about HEX, right? And we want that, because what we all want is for HEX to be is for the mad gains, right? We all want the mad gains that HEX has to offer. And, I don't see how that can really be a harm on the world, right? Let's say that this token continuously appreciates. I mean, granted, there will be drawdowns. This is crypto. So even Bitcoin has 80% drawdowns every 3 or 4 years. But let's say that this token ends up making more people money than let's say this token ends up with more winners than losers. Wouldn't that be a net positive thing? To create something of value for everybody that you can get in on the ground floor of and ride on the way up, and even the people that you refer, like let's say 50, 100 days in, even those people can still get mad gains. And you might get a little bit more mad gains than them. But if I get a 10x and somebody a year from now gets a 3x, for example, isn't that still not good? Because you're creating something out of nothing. I mean, yeah, you could say you're printing shit out of thin air, depending on how you want to frame that, but I mean, technically, Bitcoin is printed on thin air too. If you want to use that argument, well, it's printed on hash rate and electricity costs, but the idea came from thin air, right? So ideas are the one thing in this world that seem to have an infinite supply and can potentially appreciate in value, and can only appreciate in value. Or if it's a bad idea, nobody will adopt it, right? So if HEX is a bad idea and nobody wants it, it'll go to zero, and let's say people might lose money. But if it goes higher, and if it ever becomes worth anything at all, the vast majority of people, I think, would make money on HEX as long as they didn't sell in like the first 3 days, and if they locked up and staked their tokens like they're supposed to. I don't think that this could. I think there's more chance that this is a net positive than a net negative. There's already 6,000, 7,000 people in the HEX chat. That's more than almost any Telegram group that I've seen. And people are making stuff too. So people are making shit like this website, hexstat.com. Developers are developing things around HEX to increase the game theoretical stickiness of it by giving people stuff to look at, again, to occupy more of their mind space, their mind share. And, Richard has nothing to do with this stuff. Here's a website that I'll link to down below called hexdata.com. And we've got visualizations here of people, Ethereum transformed daily, hourly, total Ethereum accumulated, almost 50,000, wow. Free claims and unique addresses. It's just cool stuff. And we've got a website called HEX Viz that tells you a visualization anytime somebody makes a stake or claims or burns coins or transfers coins. So all this stuff is made by the community, and I don't see any other community that's actually making valuable shit other than the developers, right? And so that's another point too. People say, what could this HEX be used for? So let's talk about that. What could all this Ethereum be used for? Well, we see already that people are making cool visualizers, and people are making a bunch of memes and social media accounts and crypto YouTube channels. Like me, I'm making a YouTube channel just because of HEX. But in terms of people say, oh, well, who's going to continue development on the project? It's like, it's already a smart contract on Ethereum. It's meant to live there forever. The point of smart contracts is that they're uneditable, they're immutable. So it's already on the Ethereum blockchain. So ideally, nobody could do anything to the contract. It could have no further work done on it, and it would be just fine. As long as the audits were successful and there's no bugs or anything like that, it'll go on with or without Richard. Richard could get hit by a bus and this project would still exist, right? So you might say, why does Richard need 50,000 ETH then? And I'm assuming that you're assuming that Richard is the guy that gets all the ETH. Well, wouldn't it be nice if wouldn't it be nice if Bitcoin had ads? If Bitcoin had an ad campaign that, people were more and more familiar with the word Bitcoin and the brand? So I think, hypothetically, that Ethereum could be used to pay for advertising and marketing. And I think that's how you drive the value of anything. I mean, marketing and advertising has been around as old as time. You can see crypto ads all over the place now, even on Facebook and Instagram. Like I just saw an ad for unstoppable domains on Instagram. They used to ban that shit, but now apparently you can advertise if you get approval from the company or from Facebook. So these advertisements are getting more and more common, And in order for any user to buy anything, all successful projects have marketing and advertisements. So when you're buying HEX, you're buying into a brand. I think it would need advertising, just like a lot of the other top projects have different forms of marketing. Bitcoin has no marketing, and it's already at, it's already the big kahuna of crypto, right? It's got like 60% dominance or something like that. Now, if a different coin with hypothetically better game theory, more speculative stickiness, more psychological addiction qualities, well, then I think that actually does have a very reasonable chance of, if not overtaking Bitcoin, at least getting into a top 10 crypto position, right? When people say, oh, well, it's a scam if it's not Bitcoin, right? Well, then what do you think about, there's 9 other top 10 currencies out there. Are all 9 of these currencies straight up scams? Is Ethereum a straight up scam? I don't think so. I think it's too early to say that. I think it's, people throw around the word scam very liberally these days. And I think a scam is something with bad intentions, right? So long story short, I think there's good intentions behind this project. I think that there's a potential net positive for a majority of people here. And if you want to be quick to call something a scam, what if you were to call, what if you were one of those people in, hold on a second, I'm going to look up an advertisement. So here is a funny example of something I saw on Reddit about, depicting, oh, with electricity and all these electrical lines everywhere, it's going to be so dangerous, and all the people are going to get caught in them. People are going to die. The horses are just going to keel over and die for no fucking reason because there's electric lines. I don't understand that at all, but it goes to show you that with every new innovation, people are going to be opposed to it because it's new, right? Here's a little more less funny one, but it's, computers seemed weird at first too. Electric cars are normal now. Think about that for everything, right? Every time there's anything new, there's going to be a group of people that hate it because it's new. People that aren't in Bitcoin hate Bitcoin because they don't understand it, and maybe they're a little jealous of people that made a lot of money on it, and they think, oh, well, you can't make that much money just by buying something early, like, they'll lose all their money eventually, haha. And they tell themselves a story and a narrative that, Bitcoin's going to die just because they don't own any of it. And a lot of those people will get left behind. So you're probably watching this, and if you're watching this, you probably already believe in Bitcoin, or at least in cryptocurrency, and the idea of, blockchains in our future. But you're either on the side of progress or you're on the side of fear, So what do you have to gain by getting angry about this new project HEX? If you don't like it, again, don't buy it. But this is something new, brand new, where people can literally trustlessly earn interest on their HEX tokens. And I guess the sketchiest thing about it is probably the legal framework and the attention that Richard is drawing to it, both positive and negative. But it's going to exist whether you like it or not. So either you buy it or you don't. I don't really care. But if you do want to buy it, you can click the link in the description below. You'll go right to the website and it'll tell you all about it. But again, so I didn't mean for this to be a sales pitch for HEX. You don't have to buy it at all. I'm not trying to pressure anybody to do anything. Make your own decision. But if you don't like it, don't buy it. Another thing you can do is go to hex.win/disclaimer.html, and you can read the disclaimer on how to not be an idiot, right? So HEX is not a security. There aren't actually any coins. They're just numbers in a database. No one is actually given anything. People can execute the code they choose on their own that changes a number in a counter. That's all it is. It has a little blurb about the Howey test, about how it's not technically an airdrop because you're minting and choosing to mint your tokens. It's got a whole thing about, you generate your own private keys. Nobody else shouldn't give them to anyone else. And if you're okay with taking the risk of buying some HEX, by all means do it. Just know that it's a risk, right? And being in crypto in the first place, you're obviously okay with a little bit of risk. So I don't understand the controversy, but if I'm going to wrap this up, if you do have any specific point that I might have missed, please let me know in the description and comments below. I think I touched on the Ethereum, where the Ethereum goes, how I'm basically thinking that that's going to be used to advertise and market the product. I don't think that, if you're going to talk about game theory, I don't think that Richard has an incentive to destroy his reputation and get in a huge amount of trouble and see this project fail. So if you're assuming that Richard owns the Ethereum, I think it's pretty reasonable to assume that he's going to use a good portion of that to help the project out. I didn't touch on the adoption amplifier yet, or I'm sorry, I didn't touch on the origin address yet. The origin address is basically an address that gets a copy of all the HEX bonuses. So let's say I claimed early and let's say I have a referral and my referral gets 20% of my 100,000 HEX claim. That would give me 20,000 coins. It would also give the origin address 20,000 coins. So you could say that the origin address would do something nefarious, and by owning so many percentage of the coins, that the origin address has the power to, let's say, crash the price. But the price is at 1 Satoshi right now, guys. You can't really crash it much more than 1 Satoshi. Alright. By the way, if you do follow the origin address funds, you could see that I think just 2 days ago, a large portion of it was actually locked up for 10 years. And I think the stake percentage on hexstat.com went from, let's pull it up, went from like 75% to like 80-something percent, 84%. Yeah, so 84% staked, and that's due to the fact that the origin address coins are staked in it for the long haul. You can see that on the blockchain. So I don't think the origin address is anything to worry about either, because I think that whoever owns the origin address, wink wink, is locking it up because they want to see the project succeed. So I don't think there's really any incentive for people other than the holders to crash the price. The only incentive would be if you're that impatient where you claimed all your HEX 20 days ago, now you want to sell it at a loss for 1 Satoshi and take a 90% loss because you can't wait more than 20 days, right? So again, never invest anything more than you're willing to lose. I invested a little bit in full transparency, and I am willing to lose it all, but don't invest more than you're willing to lose, and your time horizon should probably be a little bit longer than 30 days. So if you're dumping on the market, you're literally just selling to some smart guy that's got their bid set at 1, and they could literally just flip that at an ask of 2 and make 50% profit. So you don't know what the fuck you're doing if you're buying it and trying to flip this in 2 weeks, okay? If you don't like the project, don't invest in it. And where else was I going with that? Oh, the ideal time horizon to hold this, in my opinion, would be 2.5, 3 years. Personally, I'm trying to predict the next the next bull market cycle, and I would love to sell at the top of the next bull market because I know that bull markets happen. But I would also like to keep some for an even longer supply or term, and hopefully I would like to hold a portion of this in eternity as a store of value and store of wealth. But I do plan on staking a big portion to try to time the top of the next bull market. It might turn out to be a terrible idea. We'll see. Don't do what I'm doing just because I'm saying it. But just know that there is a big payout on day 353. So if you stake for 353 days, or if you're staking on day 353, day 353 meaning the 353rd day after the snapshot date, If you're staking on that date, whatever stake you have is going to get paid out an entire shit ton of coins based on all the unclaimed Bitcoin that exists that didn't claim their free tokens. So that's the We Are All Satoshi bonus, right? And that's going to be massive payouts to everybody that is staking. So anyone that's not staking is going to get totally diluted and totally screwed. So it's really going to incentivize people to be staked on that day. So yeah, just thought you all should know that. What else? A little concerned about Richard's behavior. I think when you're a leader in the space, you need a little more, level-headedness. But again, I could be wrong. He might know exactly what he's doing, and he might be building up the controversy because controversy is good for attention. Anyway, that's all I've got, guys. That's my honest opinion about HEX. Hope I didn't ramble too much. Hope I didn't repeat myself too much either, but I really want you guys to understand certain things, and that's really all I've got to say. So subscribe if you like this video. Leave me a comment about what I should talk about next, and I will talk to you guys next time.